Very good afternoon, or rather evening, to all our viewers, and welcome to today's edition of the Evening Review. My name is Toivan Jabela, your host for today. Tonight on the show, we are joined by Bishop Festus Thomas, who is the president of the Body of Christ political party, probably the newest political party in the country, registered with the Electoral Commission of Namibia. And he's just here to really reflect on the identity of the party, its ideology, and what it intends to do going forward. Bishop, thank you very much for making time.
Thank you very much for welcoming me.
Wonderful. Body of Christ, that's a name, quite a name there. What is Body of Christ?
Yes, Body of Christ is a name found in the Bible, where all the Christians are united. The body of Christ, they are talking about all the Christians are united in the body of Christ, in the unity of the body of Christ.
Wonderful. So originally that is in the Bible, but you felt that you needed then to bring this in a political formation. What is the idea there?
Yes, as we all knew, in Namibia, we have got a secular state.
Yeah.
Just after the United Nations have supervised our election during 1989, there was some shocking history which came to the mind of the Christians in Namibia, that the body of Christ in Namibia, Timmy said the Christians themselves are forgotten. Because we found ourselves driving the country on the connotations or name called the secular state. The meaning of the secular state is a separation between the state and God, or church rather. But at sometimes we read that there is a 95% Christian in Namibia, but we found ourselves that we are not led by the Christian nation or the Christian state, but we are being governed as the secular state, separation between God and the state. It means our Christianity and the values of Christianity were abandoned. We found ourselves that even the Bible was expelled from the public education. We cannot learn to know God unless you do it privately somewhere. Meantime, someone explained that is how democracy works on earth. When the secular state is being implemented, it means somebody have to follow the belief which he is in. But to look at the definition of the secular state itself, it's bring Christians under a question mark. If you said we are separating you from the state as a Christian, it can't be a wonderful question. It's a question which will remain engraved in our minds to ask why is this like that.
I hear you, Bishop, but isn't it that the whole principle of secular state, isn't it simply to say that we are going to allow all Namibians to follow and practice in their private space or even publicly their respective religious orientations without the state interfering or driving that particular religion. Because, for example, in other words, if you are Muslim, you will not be persecuted. If you are a Christian or Hindu, you will not be persecuted. That you are allowed to practice. I mean, that's why the Constitution talks about freedom of religion. Isn't that a good principle, actually?
By thinking.
Because otherwise you are going to say, okay, since we are 95% Christians in the country, the remaining 5% is immaterial, they are not important, and therefore we are just going to make it a Christian nation.
Let me give you an example.
Yeah.
Before I make a decision or I come to conclusion. If you look at in Russia, Russia is we say it is a communist. That is got nothing to do with the Christians. But the Christians are living there. Look at the North Korea.
Yeah.
Look at the China. Look at the Iran, Iraq. Look at the Egypt. Look at the Arab. They are Muslim by faith in Arab. But still other peoples of other belief are fitting in. What is so special in Namibia? Why should we not so maybe understand other people that other people cannot even mingle with us or with our faith, so that we can now selective to be led by non-Christian state? Look at Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
Zimbabwe is a Christian nation. It doesn't mean that if we are Christian, 95 Christian in Namibia, and we cannot work in unity or in partners or work together with other nations. Who say that?
But do you agree, Bishop Thomas, that I think you used communism as an example, but I think that the better example would be the Islamic states that we have, which means that the country practices Islam, and that their state policies are linked to that. Meaning that if you are Christian in Iran, for example, you have to live your own denomination, the rules and laws of Christianity, and follow those of Islam, because the country is an Islamic state. And I think the principle in Namibia was to say we don't want to make it a Christian nation and therefore force non-Christians also to follow the Christian doctrine, which I think is a fair thing to have, that nobody's compelled at all or obliged to follow the principles of another domination that is not theirs. Why must Namibian Muslim people be forced to follow the Christian doctrine? Okay,
I think yes, we are 95% Christians.
Yeah.
I think also the principles of, let me say, the biblical principles in Namibia, it's automatically fall on the 95% Christians. Last time when I checked to the constitution of Iraq, there is no a section inside which is said when you are a Christian, you must subject yourself under the Muslim act or religious. No, there's no such things. Why can't we do the same? So I don't think, today we have got a lot of Muslims worldwide. But let me say it okay, especially in Namibia.
Yeah.
If we said we don't want to subject other faith under the Christian faith, and then we want to know, where are those people? Why are they not in our schools? We have make a research in our schools.
Yeah.
There is no Muslim kids in our school. There is no Hindu. Where is that one? There is nothing. Now, why should we be subjected to something which is pointless?
Yeah.
You know, if it could say, they could say, no, there is maybe 50% of Hindus or Muslim or something. We could understand at least, but we always welcome those brothers in our Christian state. There is nothing. They can even establish, you see, we have got a mosque in this country.
Yes.
But we don't discriminate them. We are saying let's sit together and learn together. Whether we learn the Islamist what principle, we want to know also where they do stand. And they also want them to know what is our principle said.
Yeah.
So what we are saying, they protect their own faith, but why not us?
But yours is, I suppose in fairness again, Bishop, I think all religions in the country are protected under the Constitution. That's why we have that freedom of aligning to whatever religious doctrine we may want to. But let me ask you this question: do you think, for example, that, or don't you think that rather than recognizing the country as a Christian nation, that we simply say where there is that if we want Bible studies back in school, it's fine. I have done Bible studies when I was a kid in school, which was pretty good. I knew my Bible very well then than I do now. But what about simply allowing public schools to accept all these religions, so that you say, look, if a kid comes from a Muslim background and the school seems to have a good size of those kids, that we can then introduce the Quran or whatever, a period, a lesson, maybe 45 minutes of schooling dedicated to that, just like you would do with the Bible studies in school, or religious education as they call it. Don't you think that is a better proposition?
You are now you are on the track now.
Yeah.
You see what we are saying now here.
Yeah.
Instead of saying no religious going to be educated in the school or something,
Yeah.
they could come up with a good plan. But today, you know, the whole course here, today, the whole course, we found ourselves being prosecuted by the state machineries. We cannot be exist anyway. Mm. If you go in the traditional authority settings, we've got cases where they even pass traditional law, say no church is going to be given a land in this country. They are not talking about Muslims are not going to get a land, but they are said no Christians. Mm. Before you obtain a land in this country, now you must have a permission from the Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. This is the letter, the requirement which is in their letter. You must have also a approval from the regional councils, from the regional governors, and you must also get authorization from the traditional authority. Now what we are saying is that also a part of discriminatory, that they are talking about that the Christians, they are full of discrimination between the Muslim and the Hindu or whatsoever, other religions as well. Or what is this now?
I hear you. We go for a quick break, Bishop, and then we return for second half.
Thank you.
NMH at 1 brings you news from all across Namibia. If If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact nmh1@synergy.com.na. NMH at 1, your lunchtime news companion.
The conversation with Bishop Festus Thomas continues. Now, Bishop, you were bringing up very nice questions that, you know, when one wants to set up a church, that they had to go through all these processes. But that is what everybody goes through, even if you're not a religion. If I wanted to set up a business, if I'm a foreign investor or a local investor, there are processes, Social Security Commission, good certificate of standing. I go to this, I go to that, I go to the Minister of Trade, I go to BIPA. What's wrong? Why can't the churches go through the same process?
Okay. Is what we were expecting, but it's not the case now.
Yeah.
The case now in Namibia, church being prosecuted, the church being demolished, pastors being arrested,
Yeah.
even by the security forces of this country. Simply that they are trying to exercise the freedom of their religious. They came up with something like a false information against the religious, I mean the Christians or the pastors.
Yeah.
We have so many cases. We try to ask the government or those the state, we can say it is machinery. Sometimes I can say it's vigilantes to come up with a truth. Say, why are they denying us to access land in order to practice our faith? There is no answer. Up to now, there is no answer. You know, it was not the fact that we must follow the procedure. Our churches are following the procedure. Churches are registered with the PIBA. But even you can use, so I can bring the statistic of churches who are registered with the BIPA. But those churches today, they are in rending. Yeah. Even in that rending, they are coming to close those churches. They are coming up with something else. Now we think, now we said no. This is not actually what they thought during the adoption of the Constitution. It is not what the Article 21 said.
Yeah.
Now something is something different now. You see,
I hear you, Bishop, again. But do you agree that because part of the issue with the setting up churches or securing that land is that up to now, as far as I remember, the churches fall under they are called Section 21 organizations, meaning that they don't pay taxes, they are not really subjected to these statutory obligations that normal businesses have. And I remember reading an article a number of years ago about the wealth of the Namibian churches. If all these properties were put together, their land and everything, if it was to be put together, it's billions of dollars, but not a single cent of that goes to the state coffers. But maybe that is not the biggest issue. Do you agree that the churches, especially, I don't want to call them new churches, I don't want to call them foreign churches, but there are churches in this country that are practicing horrible things. People are being sprayed with things that they do not know. People are made to eat things that they do not know. That can be religion.
Okay.
So there ought to be some control.
Okay. I think I agree that we are also not condone churches to do such practice or such crime over the people. But what we are saying, I think let's bring evidence. You know, some of the things you see, in many cases, when they bring that allegations, we follow up. We do our own investigation. You find out that some of those actually things that are believed is what the church are doing are not the churches. There is no the procedure. Actually, this is the person who want to do his own things, you know. So what we are saying also here to say church is non-profitable organization. They are not pay tax. But I'm saying
they are very profitable
I'm saying it's not true.
Yeah.
If you find a church somewhere there, that church, let me tell you something. No one is not paying a tax, even unborn child in Namibia is paying a tax. Yes, believe me or not. Is that a church has got a building, but there is no way a case reported that bricks was stolen, but it was bought, and the taxi was also collected from there. When they buy bricks, when they buy zincs, when there is no church or no organization, nobody who's not paying a tax in this country. Unborn child, before the mother is going to deliver, first he must make a turn at the pep store to make sure that a nappy is bought. But they are not even asking, is that now a child is already born, or where is the child? We do not know whether the child will be alive or not. But as long as you bring and then you pay, tax is collected, and you go, whether that one is going to be used or not. The same with the church. Church is collecting money in this country. But why can't they make a provision for us to come together and sit down and see how much are the church collecting? Church need to be recognized in this country. Once you recognize the church, and then you will collect something from the church. We are not saying necessarily church must pay a tax because church is getting is earning from blessing. But I'm telling you that blessing, we can do something. We are able, as long as we are able to erect the building of the church, and then church also, there must be a small something to be asked from the church. They will do that. Instead of putting us on the punishment, said you are not going to get a land because you are not pay a taxi. How many organizations, non-profitable organizations in this country who are not paying tax, but they have got even some, they have got abandoned lands. We are saying the mistake starting from a good thinking. If people, they could think very well, and then I think we could do something. Church could be a helpful instrument that will help the combating crime even. Because churches are neglected in this country. People, they are trying now to do things on their own. So that's why Miskin, maybe, I don't know, maybe they said, no, church is not making money. No, so maybe we must do what. That is not true. What we want in the government must come in and recognize church.
I hear you. I think the argument that the church doesn't make money has become a very debatable one. Traditionally, as we knew, churches really lived on handouts and goodwill of their members. But lately, every man or woman who is struggling financially or whatever, they set up a small church building or church structure on the corner of the street in order to survive, meaning that there's actually an opportunity there to make money. Last week we reported about the Elsin Church having lost 3 million at Nakayale in Otapi, and all these kind of things. So the final question in 30 seconds, Bishop Thomas, what car are you driving right now as a man of God?
Yes.
Did you come here in the studio with a very nice...
Yes, there is no shy.
Land Cruiser.
I'm driving a car, which I bought with my own money.
From the church?
No. You can go to my church and investigate. I'm driving a good car, and I'm working for myself.
Okay.
And I buy a car. There is no church who's buying a car. You see, I have been in Namibia now a long time. Since 2004, where this story of prosecuting churches started very becoming very critical in Namibia, is why I dropped the state work. I was a police officer. I was an investigator. Because I have that love of God, I see churches are more neglected. The church which is taking care of the life of people, but no one is respecting it. I came. They are not giving me any salary in my church. They can investigate what I'm saying. We are challenging the government to investigate the churches.
Wonderful.
And after investigating the case, they must come up with a finding. Yes, we know that there are some people maybe who came with different motives in establishing a church in order to get survival, but not in Namibia.
I hear you.
Yes.
Bishop,
thank you
it
very
was
much.
a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you.
That is Bishop Festus Thomas. He is president of the Body of Christ political party, registered with the Electoral Commission of Namibia and ready to battle in upcoming elections. Thank you for watching.